Next up is Teresa Lopez. What's the name of yours?
Tiny house.
Tiny house presentation?
Tiny house AIA.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
That's it.
Great, there we go. All right, we're bringing up the right one. She's going to want her presentation. Okay, you can see why I'm going through this, right? Yeah, she don't want to exactly be trying to talk about somebody else's. So, great. Here we are. You? Oh, man, where is this? Why is this not doing what I want? Slideshow. Okay, bang. All right, from beginning. Perfect. Okay. So, Teresa Lopez, founder of Green Energy Money, has executed. I almost don't need this, do I? Well, yeah, actually, because back there, I was back there. This is not bad. Mayor's Office of Special Events. Can I get a quick round of applause for excellence in amplification? Okay? Yes. So, Teresa has executed leading-edge financial and mortgage product development, market growth strategies, and economic solutions for the high-performance built environment. Okay, I'm going to say that again. High-performance built environment, like LEED buildings, like not yurts, okay? During her 25-year career in the financial industry. The patented financial mechanisms, loan products, and valuation methods have met the evolving demand for green mortgage financing in communities across the country. Okay, she is a lead green associate and a nationally licensed mortgage banker, holds 2 U.S. patents, 4 iterative patents pending, for green valuation, mortgage, and financial instruments, and she has developed national training curriculums for the real estate, finance, and appraisal industry. And I've heard one of those, and that's why I wanted to come talk about this. Ms. Lopez serves as a subject matter expert for the Appraisal Foundation and consults with Green Initiative, Fannie Mae, and HUD leaders. So we're there in the right neighborhood, doing the right kind of talking for appreciating green buildings, okay? She is a published author and promotes green building finance national blog called Green Energy Money. So without further ado, help me welcome Teresa Lopez.
Thank you, Steve. I think I need to carry him around with me, don't you? That was a really good intro. So I am a recovering mortgage banker, and first thing I want to do is acknowledge all of you for being here. You're kind of proving a point that I've been stating for all along that I'm going to get into in a few minutes about early adapter, mid-adapter, late adopter market. So you're proving to, right now in this very moment, that Houston is moving toward green building now by having this many people in the room, and I've been presenting in Houston for years now, and I have not seen this many people show up at any event so far. So congratulations to you, and happy Earth Day, by the way. Such a remarkable thing. We live on the earth, and this thing is spinning, and this entity is feeding us and nourishing us, and we don't even remember it most of the time, do we? We're getting in our cars, we're driving on this thing that's going round and round. It's pretty interesting how, when you connect into the very thought of how remarkable the earth is and how we really need to sustain ourselves. The earth already is doing its thing. We are the ones that need to evolve because the earth's already doing it. So I'm just an advocate for the earth. I drank the Kool-Aid many years ago. So in fact, speaking of Kool-Aid, when I started my career in mortgage banking back in during the Carter administration when rates were 22%. So my whole world and career has been built around emerging markets, crashing markets, major financial crises, if you will. And during that period of time, that's what I call the bleeding edge has emerged, where people have walked into this new thing, what I call like the bleeding edge, which I consider the tiny house movement in a way part of that edge. So there's this new thing that's coming in. I worked on earthships. I worked in the straw bale industry. I was in polystyrene foam domes with Bucky Fuller, and I've been through this whole emerging market thing to see now this remarkable community of people coming together and emerging into what I call the leading edge and mass market. So congratulations. I'm just thrilled to be here and see this many people in the room. It's so cool. How do I do this, Steve? Okay, I think I could figure it out. Okay, so tiny houses are trending. What I really love, I like to talk and walk. Can I pull this off? Does this come up? It's hard for me to stand still and talk. I don't know how to do that without moving. So, it goes very far. Okay, so the movement has reached now a mass adoption as we're getting to. Will it reach a mass adoption? Well, already the green building industry has, and tiny houses is definitely part of that sustainability movement. And we're coming into a place of how do financial markets and real estate markets deal with this? How are we going to do that? Some of the news I'm going to tell you today is a little disheartening, but I'm going to share with you that I dwell in possibility, and so do many of our stakeholders in the market, and we always are about the solution. So if you come into talking to your financial people and you get turned away, don't give up and don't be disheartened. And there are a lot of resources out there, and certainly we can help you through Green Energy Money and our networks as well. So anybody heard of the triple bottom line? Everybody here heard of that? So that was part of the sustainability trend that started out with people, planet, and profit. So, and then it's in that order that really that's how it works. And so in the economic development sector, smart growth and tech jobs, this is something that helps to create jobs. It's something that helps to create new infrastructure. It's part of the whole plan to reduce debt, too. You can actually take sustainability and use it as a debt buster. You can use it as a way to create not only smart growth, but community and economic growth that gets us out of the hole we've dug ourselves into. Community development is another piece of it. How do we bring connectivity? How do we bring equality to housing? How do the people that can't afford it get into housing? How do the people that are sunsetting continue to support themselves? I see a lot of you in the room. I'm a baby boomer, and we're facing some really difficult challenges moving forward. So how do we improve our quality of life? How do we bring health and multi-generational, that's what I am now coining these new phrases, of an interdependent, connected community as well as affordability together in one place, and sustain ourselves and create sustainability at the same time. So that's where sustainable development comes in. We're in a reducing our impact, and that's where the tiny house movement sits right there. By reducing our impact, it's all about using our less resources, creating ways to support ourselves financially and economically, and still thrive and not give up the way we live. For the first time in our society, in the history that I know of, that I can look back on, we can now live sustainably, and we don't have to give up anything. We actually have the technological advancement right now, today, in this very moment, that can support us in a way that's remarkable. We have water systems, we have solar from the sun, we have earth energy from the geothermal, we have building envelope, we have wonderful builders. How many of you are builders in the room? Anybody here in the building industry? So you guys, you're the untold heroes, so are the homeowners and the building owners, because you're the ones that are making this happen. You're the ones that are driving the market. So we've got to get to that triple bottom line of people, planet, profit. So what are the challenges and gaps in the market? Well, the multi-generational income disparity. We have a huge problem right now. The kids coming out of college in tremendous debt. How are they ever going to get to home ownership? How are the baby boomers, millenniums, and the Gen X's going to be affordable and create a sustainable housing solution? How are they going to reduce their debt? How are they going to get to below a 15% threshold on their housing expense? Because that's what it's going to take with retirement. Our incomes are going to go down and be diminished. With people coming out of college now, their income, they've got student debt that has to be covered of about 10% of their income. So the reality is we have to go from a 35% debt ratio threshold to a 15% ratio. Well, one of the ways of doing that is in creating multi-generational smaller houses with smaller imprints and smaller cost. So municipality and HOAs are another big problem. And you're going to hear from somebody today about the gaps in the market and how the zoning and bylaws can actually prevent you. Most of the not municipality, but communities, when they're built, their guidelines and bylaws restrict you from building below a certain square footage. How many of you facing that? You call your lender and they go, gee, I'm sorry you don't comp out. Well, I'm going to give you the problems, but I'm going to come up hopefully with some solutions to get you thinking. And this takes a village, by the way. It takes all of us, and it's your demand that will drive the powers to be to have to do it. So I want to remind you of the power of consumerism. It does have its advantages. So at antiquated zone policies, planned unit developments, they're not sustainable for the most part or affordable for most part. And then financial and real estate market and consumer risk adversity. So financial markets are that's risky. Whoa, I don't know anything about that. Boy, I can't figure that one out, so it must be too risky, so don't want to do it. I can't tell you how many calls we get every week from homeowners and building owners and builders saying our lender is going to devalue our home if we build green. And I'm like, how does that work? So these are the kind of issues that people don't realize when they're getting into it. You drink the Kool-Aid, you're on board, you're all passionate. I'm going to build this tiny house. I'm going to be sustainable. I'm doing the right thing. Boom. Can't get the money, okay? Can't get the value, can't get the appraisal. So all of these issues are problems that we are solving every day. We have cracked the code. We are coming into new solutions every moment. So I talked earlier about the early adapter market and the niche market and the mainstream adaption. So we're near that tipping point now. We're getting to that point where the what I call high performance, which is super green building. This is energy costs below 50% or 30% of what you would normally pay. So net zero, how many of you have heard that term? So our goal is to move toward net zero and to be able to produce and use as much resources as we provide, and then to be able to sustain ourselves through those resources. That's the ultimate goal, is to be able to cover our transportation, housing, reduce our debt at the same time, and be sustainable. Well, wow, that's pretty huge. Can you do it? Yes, you can. We're seeing it every day. We're coming across case studies that are pretty extraordinary, and we're seeing the footprints of houses getting smaller. So people, where the big house, everything's bigger in Texas. Y'all all heard that. Well, here we are. We're shifting that paradigm, right? So we're coming from a house that was, we got to have this McMansion now, to the realization of, wow, we can't take care of this. This is too much. So there's a lot of wisdom in this kind of philosophy. And, we're seeing what's called brown discounts now in appraisals and in real estate. So a brown discount means that your property is either deferred maintenance, it's old, it needs a lot of work, it's going to be very not cost effective to improve that house, and it costs too much to operate it. So we are seeing now in the commercial sector, and it's now trickling into real estate or into the residential market, where appraisals are coming in lower. We're seeing this discount, like they're getting penalized for it, if you will, on the value on having properties that aren't up to date and aren't operational, whereas we're seeing a green premium on the sustainability on properties that are operating and are more better built. They're more durable. The cost of operating them is much lower, and it is a lower risk. So we're proving right now, every single moment, that it is cost efficient. It's less risky from the investor. It's less risky from the owner of the property, and these properties are actually selling for more. So it's a very exciting time after over 20 years of drinking the Kool-Aid and working on this, we're finally seeing results from it. And it's because of the consumer demand that is driving it. So the tiny house green market appraisal channel. So there's a central problem. The central market, the financial market and the appraisal market does what's called a paired sales analysis. Are there any appraisers in the room, by the way? See, that's part of the problem too. They never show up to these things. So, the financial market, by paired sales analysis, that means that we're comparing apples to apples. Well, there's no such thing in the real estate market. In communities that have the same similar houses that were done by production builders, it's pretty typical. That's how the paired sales analysis happened, is we started building production homes in the post-war era, and so people needed housing. Guys were coming home from the war. There was a shortage of housing and jobs. So a bunch of guys got together and they created the production home, tract home houses. Now we're having a problem with these post-war era houses. How many of you live in one of those? There's millions of them. So we have a problem where those houses are becoming more dilapidated. They're not working anymore. I'm losing my, excuse me a moment. Let me regroup. I spent a long day and evenings are sometimes hard for me. So the comparable sales and data for the square footage. So we want to see similar square footage. We want to see the same number of rooms. That's another problem with tiny houses, is the number of bedrooms. So one of the things that I recommend to you, if you're not doing an open floor space plan, is try to go a little bit bigger and add another room. It really helps with comping it out, having a 2-bedroom. 1-bedroom houses are not as saleable, they're not as marketable, and it all comes down to marketability. So make sure that you try to accommodate and look at your comps in your neighborhood. Look at where you're building. Look at your market. So it doesn't end. I mean, you might have cash. You may be able to build it, but you also have to consider resale. What if something happens? What if you need to sell your property? What if nobody will buy it because it's not marketable and they can't get the financing for it? Okay, those are things that you really should consider when you're looking at this. So we have a limited data. We have limited historically houses. So most of these houses are self-funded or they're custom built. So what happens is I go in, I buy the lot. So everything's cool. I buy this lot. Now I build this house on it. No one ever sees it in the multiple listing service, because it didn't go on the market. I built it myself. Now, 10 years pass, I want to sell this house. It's still got good bones, it's in good shape, but I can't find a qualified buyer unless somebody's paying cash, because they can't get the value in the appraisal. So these are things to look out for. So when you're looking at a paired sales analysis, the problem becomes that we're comparing, the only comparisons you can do, and I had this on a project in Dallas. We never finished the project because we just couldn't make it work. They're working on the floor plans now to try to add an extra bedroom so we can comp it out. And the owner's big frustration was, how can I not get a comp for this? The appraisal is the same as the condo. So I can just compare it to a condo. Well, you can't compare it to a condo because it's apples to oranges. A condominium is totally different than a single-family home. So when you're building a tiny house, you have a single-family product that is not comparable to a condo. So it's a new paradigm, and it's about mitigating risk, and it's all about marketability from the lender's perspective. So an appraisal valuation, we're taking a traditional square foot of $300,000, 28 square foot, and we're trying to compare it to a 50, I forgot to put but that's going to be 500 square feet. And then on a green high-performance home, we can actually get value now. So we can actually improve the value. We're seeing 10% premium on green homes now. So we could add a green premium to your tiny house to add a little bit of a bump, but we're still comparing a 500 square foot to a 2,800 square foot house. So it's comparing apples to oranges again. I'm not going to have time for all this, but the bottom line to that is that the payments are a lot less. You can compare them to a condominium of the same square footage, utilities, you know, and they're more affordable, of course, because the land cost. But one thing, I'm seeing a lot of the stuff on the internet that's saying you can build a tiny house for $50,000. Well, it doesn't include land costs, guys. So really, you got to calculate your land cost in there unless you have a piece of land that's free and clear. 21st century solutions. We're looking at 3 different models here: new urbanism, inner city, and rural. Those are the 3 models that we see in the housing market. And, you know, if you're building in rural, you're always going to have a problem. Inner city is probably easier to comp out because there are smaller comps inside the inner city circle. New urban developments are going to be harder to comp out. We have to bring all these interconnective things into the equation. We have to consider transportation, you know, smart growth, social, cultural, lifestyle diversity. And of course, we have to create a way that we can fund these. So the solution is, first of all, if you're going to do this, try to get on the internet and see if you can find other people who want to do it, and do it together. Buy a tract of land together so you're comping out each other's houses. So that's one idea that I think would really work. Self-funding and cash, of course, always works. So you might sell your house and be able to use the sales proceeds to just pay cash for it. Again, you're going to have a resale potential problem on the back end. GSA, HUD government policy support. This is something that I'm going to go to HUD with because it is a problem for the next generation market as well as the sunsetters, if you will. So I think that HUD would be aggrieved that this is an issue that they need to address on the comparability of these properties. You could do a mobile home, you know, I can't say it tonight. Thank you. So you can do, you know, with the wheels on the house, of course, and you can do seasonal land leases that way. Again, self-fund on it. I think the average cost, if you're doing green, is probably going to be $50,000. The other concern I have is if you build it yourself. I've been in this business a long time, and that makes me nervous. Get a consultant. Have someone help you. This is not something you should take on if you do not have a background in building on your own. Include tiny house projects and PUDs and developments. The developers and builders we're working with now, we're encouraging them to do sections of their communities when they're planning out their developments to include tiny houses for this sector of the market, and we're assuring them there is demand. And I have to get a picture of this room so I can send it out on my blog post and let them know there is definitely a demand and interest for this. And I think that it's great, and it's an awesome opportunity for all of us, and thank you so much for having me speak tonight. Thank you, Steve.
Well, thank you so much, Teresa. Amazing.